Hello and welcome to the breakdown here on ThePapare.com, where we look back at the 4 games in the Dialogue Rugby A Division League last weekend with Sabir and myself. It was a very interesting weekend. Once again, we are getting a little closer to knowing who the league title champions are going to be. The defenders and the title contenders have been in action over the course of this week. They've both come up with wins. Let's see who's going to win it next week. Sabir, let's start off with the first match, Navy versus Army. An upset there, something that none of us ever expected Navy to actually lose at the Balisara ground. What happened?
Well, actually, it's not as surprising for me, Shanaka, because Army did beat Navy last year's Dialogue Rugby League. It's just a point different. But looking at the way they played against CRNFC, spectacular game that they had. But Navy looks like they lost their title hopes. They lost the momentum as the latter part, which is a surprise for me. But talking about Ashoka Jailal, the former captain of Army Sports Club, he was absolutely brilliant. So as Ashan Bandara, he's been an unsung hero for Army this season around, although we didn't see much Gayan Salinder, who came up in this game. He has scored 3 conversions and 3 penalties. Good to see. But Navy, we don't know what is the real story about that, but it's not the we heard that there's no senior players, like 6 or 7 senior players also did not play. Chanak Chandimal was injured, but apart from that, it's not going so well at the latter part of this game.
Yeah, really surprising that Navy were not able to pull that one off at their home grounds. They looked the far better team in the lead up to this game. Army, yes, had some confidence from their win over CRNFC the weekend before, but I don't think that it was a good enough performance from Navy. I think they'll be going back home and scratching their heads and trying to figure out what went wrong, because there really is, looking at it from the outside, there's no answers that we can find.
Indeed, and also they have another tournament now. Although the title hope is gone, they are favourites actually. They can still contend well for the knockouts
Absolutely.
After the league. And talking about on that game, also ThePapare had an injury, so Army took some advantage during his injury blood-brain recovery. Also, so many handling errors despite the win in this game for Army. They are going to the opposite red zone, Shanaka. Both the teams making errors, knock-ons, so it's like schoolboy errors, and the game stopped play. So that's not a positive sign for the club rugby. But also Dinesh Lakman's that kick in the absence of Chanaka Chandimal, which was barged by Upul Abiratna, scored that individual brilliance try from that interception. And also look at this celebration of Suranga Pushpakumar. He goes to support Stefan Gregory, and then he scores that try. Brilliant stuff. And look at this celebration in the stands. And Army did not get shy of this after they scored the last try and the winning moment. Look at these 2 Army players. And here we go. If Pukke can do, why not we can do?
Yeah, it's good to see this kind of spirit in the games. I mean, Pukke is a character. That's one thing for sure. He plays very passionately, and this is why I'm not a big fan of celebrations, because if you don't win the game, you end up looking a little silly. But it's all in good fun, and it's nice to see.
Let's look at the try scorers for this game. Kosala Tisera, Suranga Pushpakumar scoring a try apiece, and Tilna Veerasinghe 2 conversion and 2 penalties for Navy 17 points. And for Army, Ashan Bandara, Upul Abiratna and Madhushan Chandrasekhar scoring the try. Like I said, Gayan Salin the 3 conversion and 3 penalties. Full time score 30 points to 17. And moving on to the next game, Shanaka, Police versus CHNFC. This is arguably the best performance by the underdog CHNFC in the second half.
Yeah, I think they did very well, and they've had tries through Lakshan Jayapal, Kalindu Karyavasam, and also a penalty try given to them, which was from the pressure that they managed to exert on the Police line. I think Police would have taken this game a little too easy. I think they thought they might have won it in the first half when they scored their only 26 points. They didn't score at all in the second half, so that's something that they will be wondering what went wrong, because against Kandy, they came back and outscored Kandy in the second half. So Police has been a really inconsistent team this season, and that's something that they will really need to look at what went wrong and where. But hats off to CH. They've been improving every single game that they've played, and let's see whether they can manage to hold out and maybe, come out with 1 win this season, but their next game is Kandy, so it's going to be really difficult for them.
It is unlikely, but we should give a round of applause for their defensive work in the first half. We saw Reza Rafardin almost score that try, but not one defender is coming in. 2, 3 came in to put him out to the sidelines, but Reza got the opportunity in the second time where he scored that try just by the whitewash, so good sign. So defense was good by CHNFC, and also they showed the attacking momentum. They just missed that winning taste. They could have scored just 1 more try, just missed. But credits to them in the second half. It's a second half win. They have so much positive to take from this game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they outscored Police by 14 points to 0 in the second half, and I think that's a very good performance from them. But it's about belief, isn't it, Sabir? They believe more in themselves now. CH as a team, they were an inexperienced team, a team that is coming together because of these guys can't find places in other club sides. So I think they are now trying to find a little bit of belief and a team identity, and it's good to see them doing well.
It is. We'll hope whether they can pull out a surprise in the knockouts as well. Moving on to the other game, Shanaka. It's at the Hill Capital. It's always difficult to beat Kandy in the Hill Capital, despite Air Force beating in the first round. Shanaka. It's you can see half time 40 points to 3, but full time it's a try fest. 11 tries, 9 conversions, 73 points to 13.
Yeah, it was. This game was. It would be. We would be lying if we said that the first game didn't affect this game. Sabir, I think Kandy came up with a point to prove. They came out to say, look, you guys fluked out by beating us in the first round. It's not going to happen again. This is what we're made of, and that's exactly what they showed. So, Danushka Ranjan was powerful as usual. Kanchana Ramanayak, in the absence of Gayan Veeraratne coming through and playing, he's probably his best game all season. He hasn't done much this season so far. So Kandy just brought all their big boys to the party, and they had so many of those game breakers across the pitch that it's difficult to imagine that they don't come up with these performances every week. But it was a very, very good performance, and it sends the message to Havelocks, we are here to take you down.
Absolutely. Looking at the Havelocks performance against CRNFC, especially the first half, maybe Kandy should not be over pampered, but never know. But they are looking favourites. But it has been a difficult task for them to travel away games. But they are a champion side. They played like a champion last week. So also the forwards. Look at the try scorers, point scorers for this game. Danushka Ranjan leading the try scoring list with these 2 tries in this game. Kanchana Ramanayaka, he only played 10 minutes or so in the police game last weekend, but this game he had a pretty decent run, scoring 2 tries. So as Rishabh Dharmapala, 2 tries. Bhuvana Kodangam was brilliant in the back of the scrum, a try. And Gayan Ratnayak was impressive. He was the man of the match performance on that game with a 1 try. Vishwamitra Jayasinghe, Lasith Ratanagoda and Tilna Vijayasinghe try apiece. And Arshad Jamalin with 2 conversion and Tilna Vijayasinghe with 7 conversion. And Dinesh Veeraratne and Charit Seneviratne scoring the points for Air Force. Of course, they scored a late try, a consolation try, but I'm sure that team can get something out of this heavy beating.
No, I'm sure they will, because they're a good side. They've been playing some good attacking rugby, and they've been brought suddenly down to earth. So they know that they've got to go back and do a lot more homework for next season. But I think this Air Force team will be one to watch in the upcoming seasons, maybe even in the knockout, Sabir. But also for Kandy, it's nice to see Nigel Ratwat coming back, and he adds so much depth across that back line. So Havies are going to have a really, really tough time next week.
Yes, indeed. And we'll have a look at the final game. That is, of course, we had CRNFC versus Havelocks for the Matthews Trophy at the CRNFC grounds. It's a tight game in the first half, Shanaka. 11 points to 10 in the first half. CRNFC was brilliant in terms of their defense and also attack, but Havelocks, they just came back strongly in the second half.
Yeah, it was probably the best defensive performance CR have put on all season, Sabir, but unfortunately they didn't mirror that in their attack, because they've been a team that can score tries, but this time they scored only that 1 try early on in the game through Kamindu Pereira and were not able to manufacture any kind of attacking momentum after that. So it looks as if either they can play attack or they can play defense. They can't do both in a game, which is a little bit of a worrying sign if you're a CR fan. But the problem is that they didn't manage to play a tidy game, both teams, and I think both teams are to blame, but I think also the game management by the officials were not so good, and I think they allowed it to descend into a really scrappy kind of ugly game, and that was a little worrying for me watching it. From a spectator's point of view, it was actually not a fun game to watch.
Indeed, it's not a spectacular game in the first half, especially because so many errors, so many penalties, unnecessary penalties also given in this game, few yellow cards. But I like the fact how Rahul De Silva pointing the referee card on the when they get a scrum channel, because everyone have to get bind nowadays. That's a law. And also he was pointing at number 6 Shemal Veerasikara, who's the blindside flanker. He's not binding properly, so it is something to work out for the other teams as well. So I think even the number 8 should bind in the scrum. He can't even just put his heads up and look what's happening.
Yeah, it's a new rules that have been brought in to make sure that the first phase is a little bit more competitive, that people are able to score more tries off the first phase. So the whole important thing about rugby union scrum when compared to rugby league scrum, Sabir, is that you're actually bound in there and it takes time for you to get out. And that's something that number eights and flank forwards have been trying to uh, get over for many years. So they bind with their hand only, or they don't bind with the full arm, and they bind on very high up on the second rows, and they look up to know exactly what where they need to go. So I think it's designed to space the game up a little bit from the first phase, and I think referees need to start cracking down on it, and coaches also in time to come will realize that this is how the game needs to be played. So again, teething troubles. I don't think it's going to be a big deal, but hats off to Rahul for being ahead of the curve, knowing exactly what to point out to the referee, and halfbacks are supposed to be doing that. That's their job, and he did it well.
He did it well, and also hats off to Sudham Suryaarchi, who came in the last quarter also. He just turned the things like a blitzering speed, because he moved the way he just came from the injury. He missed out 2 games, so it's a good sign having 2 scrum half in your team. But looking at this Dilanka Pereira's shoulder charge, this is totally unnecessary. This is not needed at that occasion. Look at this video. He's going and hit the charge after the referee has blown the whistle just in front of Rafika. The yellow card go to the North Shore.
Yeah, it was ridiculous, Sabir. I don't know what went into Dilanka Pereira's head there when he thought he'd do that, because it was so late. It was completely unnecessary, completely blindsided Rahul De Silva, and I don't think there was any kind of malice in it. He just lost control for a moment, and Rahul milked it for all it was worth, as well as halfbacks do. And just before that, if you actually turn the tape back and you watch that number 8 break that led to that breakdown, and it's bad enough that Muthutandri has to beat defenders. This time he had to beat the referee as well. He had to sidestep the ref when he did that blindside break, if we can have a look at that. So it was kind of a hilarious game, to be honest. Havelocks deserved to win that one, and it's a late charge for them once again. They left it late against Police. They've left it late against other teams as well. They left it late against CRNFC. But looking at Sudham Suryaarchi coming off the bench and really injecting that pace, you can see that it's part of the pattern of game that they play. They want to wear the opposition down and then really hit them hard at the end of it.
Indeed, also Dulaj Pereira was impressive playing in the wing. We were talking about that. It's not the right position, but for some reason, Coach Ronnie Ibrahim have decided let him play in the number 14, but he delivered the man of the match performance. But just because of his kicking, and also he just made some yards with the ball in hand. And good to see Sashan Mohammed also coming into the middle of the pitch rather than just waiting as a winger in the corner and making those yards.
Yeah, it's very important for wingers, modern wingers, to look for the ball, Sabi. The ball is not going to come to them as easily as it used to in the old days. So I think they need to work off that second and third phase, working off the fly half, running on his outside shoulder, on his inside shoulder, asking for those inside balls. And Sashan did that, and you saw how it benefited Sia. And it would be good to see Dulaj being able to do that as well. But I still think he's a fly half or a 12. And he's wasted on the wing. I think he needs to see the ball in his hands more often than not. So we'll wait and see how it turns out. But I think Minoshan Fernando is a good 12 as well. But they've got an embarrassment of riches, don't they? They've got Iranta Pereira, they've got Nishan Fernando. So many people just on that Avi's bench.
Indeed, so it'll be an exciting clash. The decider it's going to be in the week 13 of Dialogue Rugby League, which is a penultimate week. And let's have a look at the fixtures in this game. Sia versus Navy on the 3rd. So as CHNFC versus Air Force. Sia game is played at Longdon Place, and CH will travel to Ratmalana. And we have the Independence Day on the 4th of February. So no games on that day. 5th of February, the decider, Havelocks versus Kandy, the defending champions. That's at 6:30 p.m. a night kickoff. And Army versus CHNFC, that's in fact Army versus Police, that's at Diagama. Predictions?
Well, I don't know, Sabir. Sia versus Navy. Sia due a win, I think. They really need to be able to win one of their home games now, because they've lost too many games at home in this second round, and I think they need to be able to win that one. So Navy, on the back of last week's performance, will come to Sia rejuvenated. They'll want to show who they are and that they are a proper deserving third place team. So that match is going to be very high intensity. I think it's going to be entertaining as well, hopefully, for the right reasons. And I'm not going to be able to call that one. I think Navy might just have the edge because their defense is so good. But Kandy versus Havies, wow, that's going to be an absolutely mouth-watering clash. And depends on Havelocks, so whether they can get their defense organized enough, because I think Kandy have hit their straps. I think they've got ball players who can just kill you from anywhere, and Havies have to make sure that defense is something that they focus on all week this week, because they've got guys who can score tries as well. But if their set piece and their defense is good, then they might just be able to pull it off at their home ground too.
We'll wait and see for that mouth-watering clash on this Sunday. So that's all we have from the breakdown segment. And do not forget to vote for the most popular player of this club rugby season. Just log into www.thepapare.com and you can vote. We have shortlisted 8 candidates, and Radhesha Senivaratna and Dulanjan Vijay Singh are making that battle. So we'll wait and see. The voting closes on the 5th of February midnight. So do join and vote. And that's all we have. Myself, Sabir Khan, and signing off with Shanaka Amar Singh. We'll see you next week.